Ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on two files, the first of which the visit of U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson to Egypt yesterday, where he met the Foreign Minister Samir Riad and also met President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. We're going to be talking about this visit and the outcomes we should be expecting out of it. We're also going to be focused on Egypt's economic reform program in light of the IMF's statement regarding the Egyptian economic reform program, saying it is on the right track and Egypt is entering its second phase of this program. And joining us here in the studio to shed more light on this issue is engineer Samir Riad, member of the Egyptian Industrial Federation. We're also joined by Dr. Rami Fahim, the economic expert. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Engineer Riad, first of all, this visit of U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson to Egypt really is of high importance, where he met Foreign Minister Samir Riad and President al-Sisi. What is the significance of such a visit, first of all?
I believe the relationship between Egypt and the rest of the world, based on the interest of the Egyptian economy and Egyptian country. And this is a plus for us. That's why we are looking forward, to clarify if any issues between us and the United States and so on, because definitely we need to clarify a lot of points. Lately has been a lot of things happening. And on the economic side, definitely we look to have a cooperation with the rest of the world, equally. And we look after our interest, which is a very important issue, is our interest. We cannot afford to have conflicts with countries like America. But at the same time, we cannot agree upon what they are doing right now in their foreign policy. That's why, it was a sort of a meeting, hopefully, to clarify a lot of things. If there was something misunderstanding or there is some issues which we are taking it as it is, maybe there is some depth in it. This is what I see it, but at the end of the day, hopefully that the meeting should come out with some clarification of the situation which we are in it right now.
Yes. Well, Dr. Fahim, Foreign Minister Shukri actually stated that he would like to see more U.S. investments in Egypt in the upcoming period. Now, so far, as it stands now, how much U.S. investments do exist in Egypt? The level of economic and trade cooperation between both countries, where does it stand now, and how can we go further into it?
If we're talking about in the field of energy, in the gas field, like Mobil Oil, ABB in the electric companies, it's a huge company. We have huge investments, huge American investments in Egypt. But what I believe that was Egypt is getting, it has a new vision, and it's a new era for Egypt after President Sisi got in 2014. We started to build the dream of having a hub, investment hub in the east of the Canal Suez, Suez Canal, and we were discussing $2 billion investment with China, with India, and with Russia, and but there was always a but, that we have to build the infrastructure in Egypt in terms of roads, in terms of ports, in terms of airports, in terms of electricity. Nobody could have imagined that Egypt is really going to achieve all what it achieved in 3 years. This is the fourth now. Yes. After we're going into the fourth. So I believe that the United States are... Okay, let's take it another way. The whole world is facing a collapse, an economic collapse for the time being. Okay, this is not only a recession. Okay, this is bigger than the recession. It all started in 2008, and they failed to overcome the Great Depression. Okay, this is a Great Depression, and
up until now.
it's going to start now because they went on a very wrong way to whatever. I don't want to talk about this for the time being. But anyway, so Egypt is the port. It's the investment portal to Africa for the time being, and Africa is a virgin area. It's actually, we believe that it might help the whole world to overcome the Great Depression effects. Okay, so everybody wants to go. They cannot invest in Africa. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the mind to do the business in Africa in a real macro level way. They have shortage lots of things. So what we're doing is we're trying to invest in this area in Suez Canal and to be the portal for whole Africa. Actually, we're trying to overcome the problems of the Nile River transportation. Maybe. Yeah, we don't have to discuss it now, but they're trying to overcome the problems. They're trying to overcome the problems between the countries inside Africa. So this is the plan. And everybody who really wants to overcome the problems he's going to face in the next phase, they have to join Egypt in this area. So I think that they didn't imagine that we're going to do this in 3 years. We achieved, if we're talking, for example, in matter of roads, now we achieved 70,000 kilometers. The target is 100,000 kilometers. We were only 40,000. Nobody could have imagined that we're going to finalize this 30,000 kilometers in less than 3 years. Okay, and it's improving. Okay, the numbers are getting better. So I believe that the United States, for the time being, are trying to put their feet in the project, and now they are in the race. Okay, maybe we didn't. With all what we have done for the last phase to overcome the problems, the financial problems, the floating of the pound, and lots of problems we were facing, but challenges. They were really challenges.
Yes.
People felt the challenges more than they didn't have the vision where we're going. Whenever you have a marketing plan, an economic plan, it's where are you now and where do you want to go? How to achieve this action plan and action program.
Yes. Okay.
So the problem with the revolution and this, people could not see where we're going.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
So America is trying to reserve its place for the time being.
Yes.
That's what I believe.
Yes.
This is my opinion.
Well, Engineer Riad, you've mentioned the foreign affairs file of the U.S. administration. Well, it has been under the microscope, really, and a huge concern for the international community as a whole, especially regarding the Palestinian issue and recognizing Jerusalem as the Israeli capital. Now, does that change the dynamics between the relationship of the United States with Egypt, with the rest of the Arab world?
Definitely, Egypt is a part of the Arab world. Egypt has got its own policy. They have got their own principles. And definitely Egypt has invested in this direction, from many, many years. And definitely we are aiming as well, to help, our Arab, neighbors and Arab brothers and so on. And we will never neglect this issue. And definitely the Americans, which they are biased to the other side, this is not favoring our relationship with them, I believe. But definitely, at the end of the day, if politics and economy, is it one issue? Is it two issues? Can we separate them? We will wait and see.
Yes. Well, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas actually is really refusing the role of the United States in the Middle East mediation and the negotiations between both sides, the Israeli and the Palestinian side. And yesterday, the president said that he wants to see the U.S. really playing a positive forward role in this regard, according to the UN resolutions. How would you expect the U.S. to really deal, or what sort of a role do you think it will play now after all these turbulences within this Middle East issue?
Well, you know, we want peace, and we want, you know, to develop the relationship with the whole world based on respect. This respect and this kind of issues, which has been adopted by the United States to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, is refused totally from us. You know? And definitely, you know, I'm not a politician, but at the end of the day, our principles will not allow us to allow such things, irrespective of the consequences of this.
Yes. Well, Dr. Fahim, now you've said that the United States would like to really have a strong foot within the Egyptian investments and the African investments.
Not a strong foot.
Well, a place.
I don't know if we have this place for them. That's
yes.
We're going to discuss it.
Well, what sort of fields or sectors do you see the U.S. really strengthening their investments or really having some sort of economic presence in Egypt and the African continent? Do you feel that maybe it's the energy field in light of the booming energy sector that we are having? Yesterday we've seen this, the inauguration of the second Egypt's conference. Do you see that this is the right sector for the U.S. or the international communities? Yes, it is a variety. Or do you see it as the industrial sector? How do you see it?
It's the industrial sector. I believe they want to go. Look at it this way: the problem of the world if they want to do the real marketing for their products, they need an economy of scale. Okay, this is the problem of China for the time being. Okay, if you tell China to do like 15,000 pieces, they cannot make it. Tell them make me a million pieces, they got you the 1/4 of price. Okay, so the problem of China, we don't have the market. Africa is the new market, so it's a new market for everything. Even if you give them the money and they buy, it's not a problem. But to buy a Mercedes, you have to afford to have the Mercedes. Okay, if I give you the money to buy the Mercedes, he will buy the Mercedes. Okay, and then the Mercedes company is going to make a good million car, for example, for this. Okay, so this is where all the people will fight for the next era. Okay,
yes.
So everyone wants to reserve its place. That's why you're saying they want to put a foot, yes, but a strong foot, I don't know. It's already reserved for the Indians and for the Chinese and the third for the Russian. And by the way, beware of the Indians.
And where does the future of the economic trade between Egypt and countries, as you mentioned, China and India and Russia? We've heard a lot of agreements and memorandums of understandings and presidential and governmental visits between Egypt and those countries. Where do we stand now in terms of economic cooperation?
They're coming. That's what I'm saying. We should build our infrastructure. We're building the infrastructure. We have the electricity. Before we could not invest. Nobody could. We were not attracting the investors. How can you attract investment? And for example, when President Sisi came in 2014, and he said to everybody, "I want investors." I said, "How? We don't have electricity for the houses, for the housing system in Egypt. How do you want to give electricity for factories?" Okay, we have to build the electricity, the electric stations. We have to build the roads. We have to build the ports. We have lots of stuff we need, and security. What I believe what we're doing with the army now in the Sinai, it's very important that the investor comes and feels the security. We should secure his investments.
Yes.
Okay, and by the way, it should be a joint venture. It's not they're coming just we're selling them a piece of land. We're going. It's going to help in jobs for the Egyptians, because by the law, 90% of the workers should be Egyptians. It should. That's why العاصمة الإدارية, the capital,
administrative capital.
The administrative capital. It's built in the area, beside the area of Suez Canal. It's because to help with the project there.
Yes.
فإحنا lots of projects, direct projects and indirect projects, it's going to help Egypt to shed line on how to invest in Egypt and how to introduce these investments wherever by Egyptian, Indian. It's in the end of the day, it will be Egyptian. To penetrate Africa, to go to the African market.
Yes. Well, Engineer Riad, do you see that countries such as Russia and China and India are ahead of the United States in terms of having economic cooperation and trade cooperation with Egypt?
Well, let me put it this way. I believe that India in the next few years, is going to be a much stronger economy. The Chinese, lately, they became an investors. They're individual today. They are they are behaving differently than the Chinese of 20 years ago. That is why the factories and so on, the local market absorb a lot of production from them. But the Indian, they are different. That's why the population of India is 1.1 billion people, and the Chinese 1.35, and definitely they are close in number of people. But I believe the economy of India in the next 10 years is going to be much stronger. And that's why definitely our relationship with those countries is needed, and we need to establish a good relationship, especially our position between the three continents. We are in a very, very favorable position, Egypt, between Europe, Asia, and Africa. And that is why if we make full use of our position and our relationship with this, and we are industrialize ourselves, and we are having a cooperation with those countries, definitely to the benefit of us.
Yes. And do you feel that within these cooperations and the memorandums of understanding, the Egyptian government has really undertaken a lot of efforts and a lot of tasks in really strengthening the transportation system, working on the energy sector, providing electricity? Do you feel that now and the amendments of the investment law, do you feel that now we have a good, fertile infrastructure for foreign investment, or do you see still more work needs to be done?
There is a homework has to be done. We are 90 or 100 million people. We need our output to be improved. We need our education to be improved. There is a lot of things which we are running against and that's why I believe, the value of time, which our president showed us that how important it is. We have to adopt these principles, and we have to take things seriously. Our education system has to be seen about it. Our cities has to be stopped building in our cities. We have to go to the desert, because time is precious, and we cannot waste our time on roads. We have to be more, to appreciate time. And if we appreciate time, then we will change our view about a lot of things. Our approach to things has to be changed, and definitely we need the education to be improved. We need the individual his output to be improved. There is a lot of things has to be done, but if it is done parallel of what we are doing right now, there's nothing wrong with that, but we have to do it.
Yes, definitely. Well, Dr. Fahim, looking at the political aspect of this visit of U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, now they also discussed the crises in Syria and in Libya. Do you feel that the views of the U.S. administration and how they really believe they need to solve or tackle these crises in the region, are they parallel to Egypt's vision on how these issues solved?
Very tricky question, okay? I don't know, how can we answer such a question? We need some kind of transparency. They have to say right away what they really, what's their vision for the area. But it's not clear at all what they say things and they do other things. What can I say? So we need from them a straight answer for this question. You should direct this question to them, not to me for the time being.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, also regarding the economic reform program that Egypt has been undertaking for a few years now, the IMF said that Egypt is on the right track and Egypt is prepping to really enter the second phase of its economic reform program. Let's check out these reports and we'll be right back.
The IMF's director of the Middle East and Central Asia Department talked about Egypt's anticipated monetary policy meeting, assessment of the government and policymakers' performance expectations for inflation and ingredients for economic growth. He said the IMF does not assess the currency situation but focuses more on the market in terms of supply and demand. He expressed belief that the central bank's policies are correct and come in line with a good policy taken by the Ministry of Finance in an attempt to solve the budget deficit and provide more liquidity to support the social protection program and ease burdens on the least well-offs, adding that having a strong consolidation between those policies shall raise confidence in the economy, attract more foreign direct investments and improve the country's economic activity. The IMF official said Egypt has a great capacity given the size of its economy, its unique location and the return of the global economic upturn. He noted that there was no doubt that the central bank had taken crucial measures to solve a big-time dilemma in respect of the exchange rate volatility in the first stage, followed by embarking on a series of reforms in the second stage by successfully easing soaring inflation. He explained the central bank had managed to lower inflation levels from more than 30% to reach between 20 and 22% by the end of 2017, saying he expects more gradual decline this year. The IMF official also hailed the central bank's measures, which have raised both investors and global institutions' confidence in the Egyptian economy. These measures include help growth rates gradually rebound, seeking remittances from expatriate Egyptians and foreign investments in government treasury bills. On the impact of inflation on prices and the purchasing power of low and middle and high income citizens, he said the middle and above middle classes were the most severely affected by the ongoing economic reforms. He further stressed that Egypt's focus is on moving forward with structural reforms, solving investment problems and strengthening partnership with the private sector.
This is what the IMF actually said regarding the Egyptian economic reform program, and now Egypt is bracing itself and entering the second phase. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
Prime Minister Sharif Ismail and the Governor of the Central Bank of Egypt, Tarek Amir, discussed details of the second phase of Egypt's International Monetary Fund-sponsored economic reform program. Ismail said the total foreign currency reserves reached $38.2 billion in January for the first time, which reflects confidence in Egypt's economic performance and the banking system. Egypt began implementing an IMF reform program in November 2016. The leap in foreign reserves comes days before Egypt is set to go into the international markets for a new issue of Eurobonds of around $4 to $5 billion. The country sold $7 billion worth of bonds last year. However, despite the new round of borrowing, the latest increase in the reserves is being viewed as a sign that Egypt's economic reform efforts are on the right track and are bringing in investment. The international lender made a deal to provide Egypt with a $12 billion loan in exchange for wide-ranging structural economic reforms. These include a raft of measures such as devaluing the Egyptian pound, loosening capital controls, ending energy subsidies, reforming public enterprises and overhauling monetary policy, all in a bid to restore economic stability and long-term growth. The first step the IMF commended was the flotation of the pound, a measure taken in November 2016. The following year, Egypt slashed parts of its energy subsidies, resulting in a 60% surge in fuel prices. The IMF has since recommended that the government continue removing subsidies on fuel. Another advice for Egypt was to reduce tax exemptions and provide a more progressive tax system. IMF projected that this could help the GDP grow significantly. The increased investment that Egypt has seen this year is a positive sign, with several new investors promising entry into the Egyptian market.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Engineer Riad, the IMF said that Egypt is on the right track and the right path for the economic reform program. Now, how much confidence or assurance do we take from such a statement, and how far have we gone through our economic reform program so far?
And definitely measuring things through the IMF, and telling us that we are on the right track, it gives us confidence of what we are doing. It is a confirmation that we are on the right track. And this is definitely is a positive thing. But we have got a role to play as an individual and as a society. We have to organize ourselves in such a way that we run against the hour, and we have, there is a lot of advantages right now. We have to grab it and have to take it because time is precious. And definitely Egypt is in the right track, and the issues which we are, implementing right now in terms of infrastructure and so on, this is the future issues and the present issues too, in the short term and in the long term. And the aim of all of it is to raise the standard of living of the individual Egyptian, which it is a very good aim, and hopefully this will be reflecting on our daily presence, and in the future as well, that we will gain from it what we are supposed to gain.
Yes.
This is it, industrial-wise, agriculture-wise, commercial-wise, definitely we are improving. And
yes.
That's why hopefully that we carry on, and we have to increase our capabilities to enable us to grab what we want.
Yeah, hopefully so. Now, Dr. Fahim, during the first phase of the economic reform program, we've seen the flotation of the Egyptian pound. We've seen soaring prices and increasing of the taxes and lifting the subsidies on many products. Now, what about the second phase? Is it even more of this, more of the inflation, more of the lifting of subsidies? What are the characteristics of the second phase of the Egyptian economic reform program?
First, we're going to start with the effect of the floating of the currency. It's already finished on the last December, November and December. So the high inflation rate that it started with, it won't be that again. But it was a challenge, and we've met the challenge. Okay, it's already, we overpassed this challenge. If we can feel for the time being that the prices are decreasing, are getting lower and lower day by day. You can feel it in the chicken, meat, in the daily stuff that we're using. Our exports are getting higher, the imports are getting lower. Maybe it's not directly the system that we've put for the last phase, but the thing is that the law of importation was getting a little bit severe. But in the end of the day, things have changed. They were getting in a positive way. But the problem is we could have done it better. The problem I see, for example, that we're having, there are some kind of interrelations between the government itself inside, the central bank. How can we say? I cannot imagine that the whole country is going in a very open market, very open mind investment thinking, and the central bank was getting the interest rate higher. This is not logical. The taxes, how can they increase the taxes for the time being? And actually, I should attract the investors. I should help the investors to do more investments. actually, if I'm getting the interest rate higher, okay, if I'm, let me put myself in the foot of the investor. How the hell, why should I invest in things that, maximum I will have the 20% revenue, and I'm having interest rate in the bank, I can get 22, 23, 20%. Okay, but the problem, if I'm having a loan, it's at 23%. What kind of investment will stand this? Okay, and the problem, the central bank is it's not a monetary authority. It's an economic authority, and it is directed by a monetary person. Okay, the Tariq Amir, he was an excellent banker, but for the bankers, 1 + 1 = 2. Economy, it's more like a tailor. You see the problem, you tail the solution. Okay, so you see, you get the income from the info you're getting from here and there. You collect the info and you get the right solution. The banking system, it's 1 + 1 = 2. So if, for example, I am having lots of cash, so to control the inflation, I should stop the quantity of cash in the market. This is not right. By introducing the 20% interest rate in the banks and this, so I'm gonna absorb the cash in the cash in the market. Tell me, how can it be an open economy, and I'm not letting people to spend money? They should spend money so that the circle is getting bigger and bigger.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the problem. Whatever I was gonna do in 2 years, I have to do it in 5 years. We are improving. Definitely, we're improving. But we need an economic person. We need a Ministry of Economy. We need the central bank should be run by an economy person. Okay, we need economy. We don't have the economic the economic ministry. We don't have it. Right? And we used to have it. I don't know why it's not there anymore. Okay.
Yes.
So
yeah. Well, Engineer Riad, talking about the Egyptian competitiveness and the production. Now, you're a member of the Egyptian Industrial Federation. We've seen recently the inauguration of many factories in Egypt. Do you feel that these factories would be able to raise the level of domestic production? What about the existing factories that were operating at 100%, and over the past few years, some of them shut down, some of them are still running but not at full capacity? How do you see the situation in this industrial field?
Well, we have to think about the last 20 years. We became importers, and we were more commercial than industrialization. That's why when we got a competition which we were not ready for it, that's why factories closed down. Without a competition, there is no industry. But tends to be, the issue that, to have a monopoly is wrong. We have to import to enable us to compete. A factory which can compete, this is a healthy factory. That it means the factories which they close down for a reason or another, definitely they have to change their attitudes, they have to change their mind, they have to work economically, they have to improve their ways, they have to, not only the equipment, they have to think their thinking, their market. There is a lot of things which can be imported. Okay, if we cannot do it economically, let us import it. Why should we invest in something which we don't make money out of it? And we don't, a successful business is a competitive business which can compete. And that is how I see things. That is why we start right now to stop, because of the whole issues of the economy, the dollar, the floating of the dollar and the Egyptian pounds. All of this is make us think of having to industrialize ourselves again.
Yes.
And definitely this will take a while. And if we take now this public sector companies, which they were depending on the commercial public sector, which is like Omar Effendi and Shukril and so on, when these people, the market got a competition, they closed down. And accordingly, they affected as well the industry. That's why we have to have a competition to measure our seriousness and how if we run a healthy companies or not.
Yes.
And this is, I believe this is very important, which we are ignoring it. I don't know why we are ignoring competition.
But didn't we, over the past couple of years, decrease our imports and increase our exports, which in turn should really increase the level of competition of Egyptian products?
Okay, we decrease our importation, because we are importing a lot of things even to industrialize it, We are decreasing it because, the market cannot absorb these high prices, not because of anything else. That is why this decrease of importation, there was a reason behind it. But
and there were severe laws for importation,
of course,
too.
Definitely.
To reduce the quantity.
Of course, it's not in our favor but we cannot, let me put it this way. We cannot, we cannot produce everything. We have to take this. We are in the world today which is open. Let us import what we cannot afford to do it in an economical way. And let us do slowly what we can do, and we have to stop, but competition is an issue which I don't tolerate on it. We have to have a competition. If somebody doesn't want a competition, let him export his goods.
Yes.
And see what is the outcome of it. That is how we measure things. And definitely I'm looking forward to the future. I'm looking forward to, people are just giving excuses. No. We have to change our, our thinking, our approach to the industry. We need education. We need skilled workers. We need a good market. We need to increase the level of our product to enable us to deal in the better market, not always in a cheap market. All of these things has to be taken seriously, and our approach has to change.
Yes. Well, Dr. Fahim, besides the economic reform...
Can I continue?
Yes, please.
We really have to stop exporting our raw material. Our resources, we have to, and this is where we should concentrate in the next industries. Okay, it's definitely our resources are ours. If you're gonna give them, for example, the cotton for £10, you're gonna import the T-shirt for $50. Okay, so this gap. It's not. We're not slaves to work for the people just to give them the resources. Okay, these are our resources, and we should protect them. Engineer Samir, when he was saying in the middle that we have problems in our industries, this is one of the main problems that we're facing for the time being. We are doing an excellent job, beautiful job in the new industries, in the new investments. But what about the actual ones? For example, I'll give you an example. We have 23,700 factories. This is a fact. Okay, we are aiming for 70,000 factories. Yes, 63,000 factories. Okay, there is a gap of 40,000 factories. We are doing a great job for the new investments. But what about the 23,700 factories? What about the main roads? Now, we're doing a beautiful job with the new roads. Wow, they're beautiful. But what about the main roads we're using? The things that this is where we're making our money to spend in our daily life. Okay, this is the problem now we're facing, as the people are not that satisfied because they cannot see what we're really doing outside the economy they know. They don't have the vision, and that's why they're having problem with their daily life. Now we should really see, we should concentrate, we should focus too. Beside doing the new stuff, we have to focus on
and improve the existing.
Yes, definitely. We should improve. We should improve the factories. We should help with the roads. We're doing a good job with the electricity. Excellent news. Okay, with the gas, with the. I know energy and water. Maybe these are the two main reasons for wars. This is the new era, but for the time being, I have to concentrate on whatever what gives me the bread and the bread I'm eating every day on daily day.
Yes. Well, besides the economic reform program, you've mentioned some of the problems or discouragement that investors might have here. Now, there has been a lot of amendments regarding investment-related laws, and most recently, the bankruptcy law. Now, can you shed light on the significance of such laws and the bankruptcy laws in actually facilitating investment and encouraging the investors?
The law is the new investment law. It's already discussed, and I believe it's going to be applied this year. That's what one of the points to attract investors for the time being. And the president was very clear that we should eliminate what can face the investor to join the Egyptian economy, the Egyptian market, and to start to invest in Egypt. Whether he goes directly to Egypt or indirectly he goes to Africa, we should eliminate those problems. So I believe that in the new investment law, the problem was not the investment law itself. The problem was how to apply the law. We're able to apply the law. Why not? If we take, for example, the taxes, do we really collect our taxes? We don't collect our taxes. If you're collecting 40%, 60% are not registered companies, and they're working, like we're saying, in the stairs, under the stairs, and this, doctors, lawyers. We should face it. 60% of our taxes are not collected. You know how? Do you have? Can you imagine how much is the number of of non-collected taxes? We're talking about 500, 600 billion. It's a huge number.
Yes,
it can help. Trust me, it can help.
Most definitely. Engineer Riad, what would you say? What can the government do to solve the problems of the existing factories, the existing industries? What can be done to solve these problems?
Well, let me, put it this way. We have to know the reason why those factories closed down. As I told you before, when they got the competition, they couldn't, correspond with the competition. They couldn't. That is why one of the things as well, they are running short of money, and banks, they are not supporting them to that extent, most of them. But at the end of the day, a factory which is losing money, I don't think this is a factory which is, is closing down because they have got inferior quality or this and that, because they are not running it the right way. That is why the whole story has to be, seen about it. How, if we can afford to get them back on track or not. If not, sorry, I'm not in favor of reopening them, But if some of them, they can exist for the sake of people and worker and economy and so on, and their premises and their existing facilities, okay, I believe in one thing, that is a facility which has been done for the industry. It has to be stayed as it is for the industry, and it has to be a factory. I am sorry, I'm not from that school that I put it down and I make building in it. No, no, and no. Factory has to stay as a factory. We may change the industry. We can do another industry in it or another thing. Yes, but I'm not in favor that we demolish those factories to replace them by buildings or by housing. If there is a housing, we have to go to the desert and put our houses. And that is why hopefully those factories can be helped, of course, to exist and to run again in a better way, in a better management, and so on. This is my feeling, towards it.
Yes. Well, Dr. Fahim, how would you evaluate the efforts of the government and the central bank regarding the SMEs, the small and medium enterprises? Do you feel that enough has been done, is being done to encourage and support the SMEs here in Egypt?
Not yet. Not yet. And, if we're talking... how can I say this? But for example, the 200 billion pounds that the loans of the 5% interest rate loans for the SMEs, I don't believe that we're really best using them. Okay, by the law, it's not that easy to fulfill the required documents and this. The central bank was not that eager, really eager to release money in the market. He wanted to, on the contrary, he wanted to absorb more money so that he can control the inflation. And again, I'm returning back to this is not economy. He's not an economist. Yeah, they're doing fine.
Well,
I don't want to. We cannot go further, but they're doing whatever that they can really do. They're doing a good job in several areas. We're having challenges in other areas. For example, I cannot see what the central bank will do in the next phase. How can he control the interest rate? We should go down, definitely. We should decrease the rate. He cannot. We have the hot money that is investing in the bonds. They will get this way. They will disappear from the Egyptian bonds. So he should control it. How can he decrease or increase the dollar, the currency, the exchange rate? He cannot. Because this is the same with the hot money. He's facing lots of challenges because of. But in the end of the day, if we're talking some small details, but all over on a macro level, we're doing fine.
Yes. Well, what about the discovery of the gas fields in the Mediterranean? It seems that Egyptians really have high hopes regarding this exploration. How much can it actually change or really give the Egyptian economy a boost?
How much debt we have now? $77 billion. Imagine that each field is going to cooperate, is going to participate in paying the debts of almost $4 billion. I believe you're talking in each field like 5% of the debt it's gonna pay the debt.
Yes.
So if we are actually the number, the $77 billion, this is for the first time for us. It was a little bit, we're terrified as economists.
Yes.
Okay, but when we see that, but we have an income that it was not in the formula. So now we can be a little bit released.
Yes.
Okay.
And just a quick question, Engineer Riad. How soon do you think we will feel the impact of such a discovery in the Egyptian economy?
I have to say we are 100 million people. Okay? And definitely whatever we can get, it is a positive thing, definitely. And this will help us, in the energy field, in the exportation of the gas. And definitely, hopefully, in 1 or 2 years, this we will see the result of it, But definitely we need some more.
Yes, definitely. And hopefully so. The road to the economic recovery is a long road, but we are definitely on the right track, at least according to the IMF statement. It is a long road. It needs all the Egyptians' hard work involved, and hopefully we will bear the fruit of it all pretty soon. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank our very distinguished guest, Dr. Rami Fahim, the economic expert. I'd also like to thank Engineer Samir Riad, member of the Egyptian Industrial Federation. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.